This is Henry Schneider, Process and Product Quality Consulting, and I am happy this afternoon to talk to Ricardo Garza of Softtek. So, Ricardo, would you please briefly describe Softtek, the customers, and the kinds of products and services that the company provides?
Thank you. So briefly, we do like an end-to-end system integration from all the digital technologies and including artificial intelligence, IoT, and augmented reality, mixed reality, to really agile, pods, safe, and all this stuff. And also, and particularly IMS, regular IMS, where we take the portfolio of applications for our customers and we take care of them. ITIS, what we call it, what will eventually become a cloud, and all these servers and virtual machines and all the infrastructure for even Office 365 and things like that, right? Also, we do testing and security, custom application development, the regular end-to-end services.
Okay. So your customers, what does your customer base look like?
Usually Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, primarily, and global customers that require, for example, services in Americas, Europe, or for example in North America and Latin America. We are really have a huge base in Latin America, but also we have obviously India and China to provide end-to-end or global services for those customers.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so what is the importance of quality to Softtek?
Look, historically, quality has been really important for Softtek. When the company was first started, the idea or the notion 6 years ago, the notion of software engineering wasn't something widely available. But this company started with these ideas developed in Mexico for how software engineering should be, right? Because it was not a common knowledge, or you don't have the CMM to go and check. But we started with all these courses about how to implement before object-oriented, how to do real good programming that you will really be proud and you could maintain easily. So it's in the roots of Softtek.
Okay. So why did you select the CMMI as opposed to other models and standards?
Like SPICE or things like that, right? Well, we did an evaluation originally. We started with CMM back in the day when the other competitors were actually less powerful or less common. The adoption in the what's called offshore, right, was really ramping up with CMM. And the other thing is we developed the concept of nearshore. We actually coined the term. So in order to be able to compete, it's not only, the location with nearshore and the time zone and the cultural affinity, but also you got to have better processes. In order to compete with the cost of India or China, we need to have better processes. So the total cost for the customer, if you include in productivity, is lower, right? That's a competing way or the competing terms that we usually use.
Okay. So what tangible benefits have you seen over the years from using the CMMI?
Well, first for the customer, we have seen improve in NPS, significant improvements, right? And then if you go to the other side, also in profitability, competitiveness, ability to win more proposals, be more profitable, and also I think the most important thing will be in the middle, like cultural benefits. That people is continuously looking for ways to do things better, and that's been recently been one of the first characteristics, because we're talking about automation and small things that will make the difference on the long term for them at the individual level, for their teams, and obviously for the customer.
Okay. So you have a long history of doing appraisals. So what value do you get out of the appraisals?
Appraisals are a unique opportunity to have an external view under stress of what's happening in the organization, right? Because people don't really know or they're not trained in any way. So when they start talking of what they are doing with somebody that's outside the organization, it's really valuable because they could first structure what they do, right? And they could have an external insight of what they are doing and having this conversation about performance. I think that's the most important part.
Okay. Now, a lot of companies just kind of balk at the notion of an appraisal. So what type of return on investment have you seen? Because it's not inexpensive, but it's not really expensive in the big term. So what do you see as far as the cost associated?
For me, there is this idea, I don't know if you have heard this concept that in order to have fresh fish, Japanese do a lot of things. First, go to the shore and have the fish and bring it. But then eventually they got to go longer, right? Even to Americas to bring fish. And what they do is because the fishes was not real as good as they thought, they put little sharks, right? With the fish and bring the fish alive, right? I think the assessments are kind of those sharks that maintain the culture fit enough in order, because the temptation, if you are doing great work, to keep doing only great work and not necessarily improving it, it's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. I believe CMMI and appraisals particularly, these kinds of charts that keep you like fit and alive, let's say, right?
All right, thank you. Okay, so focusing back on Softtek, what is the importance of improving your gross margin and customer satisfaction to both Softtek and your customers?
Without actually thinking, and I start talking about customer satisfaction and gross margin, right? It's the end-to-end. You have to have good customers and customers that are like you in order to have repeated business, but and then you have to focus on people in order to make that customer happy, and then you have to have processes that make people happy and that give you enough productivity, right? And then you eventually have to have the profits and the margins in order to reinvest it and obviously have stakeholders that want to be part of this business.
Okay, so even though you've been involved with the quality movement for a long time, today, when you think about it, what is the biggest challenge, number one biggest challenge that Softtek faces when delivering quality products and services?
Well, I will say it's a war for talent, right? You got to get the right talent. And in order to keep the talent, that's a key issue, keep the talent, you have to have the lean processes and powerful processes, because you multiply the value of talent with all the processes and infrastructure. But again, I think it's a great and a war for talent everywhere. Everybody wants the best talent available and the smartest guys in order to provide more value. Right.
So that's a competitive market to find the best and brightest.
Definitely, especially in what I personally do at Softtek.
Yes, yeah, especially in you, because you're doing this R&D, cutting edge stuff. You really need the best and brightest.
There is no other way. I mean, honestly, you got a developer that's 20 times better than other guys, and sometimes it's not about time, right? It's about this guy could do it, other guys could be 3 weeks and will not do it, right? It's the case sometimes.
So from a customer perspective, what are some of your customers concerned about quality?
For the customer, it's the path from from availability to reliability, right? The customers want, particularly I'm talking about IMS, right? That's one of the things about these services. Assessment, what we did from availability to reliability, because they want reliable systems. That they don't want us to be there seeing what's wrong. They want us to proactively be finding ways to make the systems more reliable. And I think that it's this movement about reliability and and reliability engineering, right? Site reliability engineering, it's called it, that's making a comeback of these quality tools, especially in services or in operations.
So how do you overcome these customers' concerns about availability and reliability?
Well, it's actually kind of a ecosystem, because if the customer cares about it, it will be easier for the people that's in the project or in the team continuously think in how to improve, right? The only way to overcome that is have this mindset and automate, fix proactively, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you wait for an incident to be open, it's too late, right? So I think that's the way we overcome it, and we're committed to do it.
So are there any perceived obstacles that you think about that might be preventing Softtek from even going to the next level?
I think what I mentioned is we are making great investments in talent, right? Not only finding new talent, but training and making sure our people has the best training available from the right tools. And also, we're in a shift as an industry, right? And so what we're trying to do is change the paradigm and become more digital, right? So reskilling and retooling all these great talent we have is one of the greatest, constraints right now.
Okay. All right. Could you share just a story now? I know that with your team, if you're doing AI, and you've got some very young and energetic and smart guys working for you. So can you kind of share what you're doing from an AI perspective internally to help Softtek become a better company?
Yeah, of course. Look, every place where we have data cross industry, you have an opportunity to improve. And if you have this data and you capture it in the right way, you could improve every process. And that's particularly complex for software development, because these guys are doing the things that capture and create the data, right? Mm-hmm. But we are doing things using, for example, Git repositories to understand what change are we making to the code and what eventually gets to production and goes back. So we could, and we're doing, and we have some excellent results against that we could predict what's more probably to fail. Mm-hmm. So we make like a code review based on this data, and imagine like a heat map where you could say this part of code look a little bit more messy, take a longer look, right? The other things we're doing is we're using like sketches in paper, right? I think we have some of them, and how we could use that sketch to actually create code. Mm. Right? We have some advancements in that. The other things we're doing is, I think I show you some of this, is we are using descriptions or the tickets to understand the risk level of those tickets and see if you have to have special care for some special tickets, right? So this is the ticket that you most probably will fail, right? Beyond its criticality, I think three examples of things we're doing in order to use artificial intelligence to build products or give services.
Yeah. It seems to me that everybody else is looking to do AI for outward facing to customers, and I don't know. Do you think you're unique, inward facing, to help you improve how you do things, or if other people doing the same thing?
I think there's a great amount of talent in the industry. But I think what could be unique is that we are a primary services company, right? So service company face this challenge. If they do what we are doing, they probably cannibalize themselves. So I think we have just the right size to not be afraid of it, right? Softtek leadership is not afraid to not necessarily grow in people, but do more services. And I think we have this product, artificial intelligence mindset that might be different from other service providers, right? You could find some things like that in product companies, like
Yes.
Facebook and Microsoft. But I think amongst service provider, I think we are kind of looking for that edge.
Yes. Yeah, like with Facebook, again, it's all outward facing. They're providing that for the user base. Okay, so kind of shifting gears a little bit. When it comes to your Softtek strategic business goals and objectives, what are some of the common obstacles that you have to overcome to get there?
To get to those, okay. First, we need to maintain culture of process and continuous improvement always. Otherwise, if you don't keep an eye on culture, things start to degrade, right? The other thing is we need to be an agile company.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be more nimble and more lean than the bigger competitors, but also more agile than the smaller ones. That's a particular phase, challenge that we have struggled, but continuously improve. And it's one of the focus that we have as a company, being agile.
So how are you helping people in the company become more agile than the smaller companies?
Thanks. It's a great question. One is we try to have all these processes digitized, right? If you have something in paper or in Excel, then you may not be as fast as they could. And the other thing is we create a small tool set that we provide to every developer or to every individual in Softtek, so they could themselves automate stuff in an easy way without really knowing how to program. That's creating a lot of small pots of agility around teams, and also that's kind of an ecosystem where people are not fighting but are competing to being more nimble. I think it's working at least as with the data we have now.
Okay, great. So let's now focus a little bit more about you. So can you spend a few moments just telling us a bit about how you got to where you are today?
Oh yeah, thank you. It's kind of funny that 20 years ago I was still studying and I took every class possible of artificial intelligence. And at the beginning of the class, I love these sexy names like genetic algorithms, right? Evolutionary techniques, right? The name is super sexy. I don't think it could get a sexier name, right? But at the end of the class, I think it was my case, but almost everybody, it's not a big class, but almost everybody felt the same. Like you cannot really do what you expect with this great expectation that the name implies. The technology was not there yet to take benefit, right, from those ideas. Let me say ideas. So today, fast forward 20 years, it's the same ideas, but you have the internet, you have the cloud, you have a lot of data, and those three things, cloud in terms of power, of raw computational power available, you have those three things that actually make that the technology is ready for prime. It's the same ideas, but with a whole different ecosystem that 20 years ago didn't exist, and it was not possible.
Okay. So what is your current position at Softtek?
We're recording live. I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Yeah, what is your current position at Softtek?
I work as a VP of innovation and emerging tech.
Okay. And what event in your life has prepared you to be in this position?
Well, first, when most people spend their lunch break, playing soccer. It's really popular in Mexico nowadays. It's also popular in the US. I spend my lunch break drawing robots or things like that. So somehow I landed in the right place, but it took a while, but eventually, yes.
Okay. So could you share an experience you had early in your life that still influences you and how you approach doing business today?
Yeah. Well, I think there could be several, but one of the primary ideas is you got to prepare, right? When I was in elementary, I remember that I gave one talk about the universe, right? And the principal of the school came, and a 20-minute talk became like an hour and a half or something. So I think I always remember that idea that and the commitment and the training that's required to actually be on the front talking about things that you are passionate, right? So I think there are a couple of moments like that where you have to realize that you are there and you got to do it and it's your time, right? So I think that this idea of being in front of people since I was young, it's something that you develop over time and you got to really work hard. I think those are the messages. You need to really work hard to do it really well. Right?
So when you were that age, did you feel comfortable standing up in front of people, or were you still kind of shy? You had to kind of work through that?
I think that it was like a realization. I didn't thought about it, but when I started talking about it and I was really passionate, it was about the universe per se. So what happened is as I started, I think I get more confidence, right? And more people were getting together and then they come the principal. So I just kind of continue into the mood. But I think the idea that you could improve and that you could get better and you got to get to do something that you really care about. I think that's what I learned about those lessons, right?
Okay. All right, so let's do shifting back more towards Softtek now. What does success look like for Softtek?
We want to provide value through technology, right? We want to be able to help our customers to not only get transformed digitally, but to get the benefits, to be in the forefront of this digital transformation, and to be able to use digital technologies in ways that definitely change their business models, they transform the economics of what they are doing, that they could use these kinds of technologies to be on the forefront of their industry, and eventually also become an artificial intelligence first company, right? Mm-hmm. It's something we try to do for Softtek every day and for customers because in this new economics is, I think, the only way to get improved better over time in a systematical way. Right?
Okay. Thank you. So could you share some measurable benefits or outcomes that Softtek has achieved over the years?
Yeah, we have improved significantly profitability. For example, let me just take for time to resolution, right? We have improved more than 30% or average or mean time, depending on the kind of data, time to resolution. We also have significantly decreased the time it takes to, for example, onboard projects, right? We as something like now it used to be a huge task, but we onboard a couple of projects with more than 300 resources in 2 months, right? And that's something that's become habitual. Try to take an example from all the value chain. We also improve the productivity or the development, right, in a significant fashion.
Okay, great. So when you come to the customers, what is the most important question the customers should be asking when they come to you about what Softtek can do for them?
Look, I think that in order to have an educated customer in the nearshore arena or in the outsourcing service arena, one of the things they got to understand is they got to talk to people every time, right? It's, again, no matter how automated artificial intelligence process you have, still people. So the cultural affinity, the fact that they could do innovation on the phone, or you could take a travel and easily travel to wherever the destinations are. I think there are still important matters. As technology advances, it will be less significant, but the cultural aspect will remain, right? So that's like a one-on-one thing. You need to be an understanding that you're in your same time zone, that you could be there, that you could spend some time with the people and have a relationship, right? In a more sophisticated ways, you need to have a company that has visibility of what you're doing, right? Instead of having somebody here, I'm going to move that to Mexico or to China or to wherever we have the required or available talent that makes more fit for your project. But without visibility, then you get lost, right? So I think that's another important point.
All right. And kind of building on that, what's the most important thing your customers should consider when they evaluate Softtek against your competition?
I think agility, right? Because otherwise, things are changing so fast that if you take care of these two elements that I just mentioned, then the next more important is agility, right? I think we could be really agile against the competition and provide the best service available faster.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then one more question kind of dealing with the whole concept of quality and all. What value does Softtek receive from working with external consultants and lead appraisers?
Now, I didn't mention it somehow, but just the idea that, for example, a company grows in complexity, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just life. And sometimes this complexity is not required. But if you are in your own ocean, right, you don't really realize that. But the fact that somebody came from outside, having expertise in seeing another companies, even if they are better or worse than yours, just the fact that they are different, right, it provides a valuable insight, and especially in this complexity dilemma, right? Because it's you always kind of wondering between too complex or too simple, but the ability to twill the processes, to have these ideas in order to reduce complexity, it gives a disproportionate effect on the productivity of team members, right? Especially team members, because they are the ones that suffers. You are the manager or the director or a VP or whatever. These guys probably have processes that work for them, but the team members that are the core of the company, of any company, the guys that develop or design or test or do security or DevOps or whatever, these guys suffer from complexity. And it's easy for management position to lose sight of those kinds of things. And I think that an external appraisal easily spot something that's odd that you may believe you need to do because of the CMMI or because of whatever, but it's usually not the case.
Okay, so now that you've had successfully achieved mature level 5 with services, what's the next step?
I think there are a huge challenge again. I mean, for me, it's always the first step. I mean, the first step into a big journey or an eternal journey. But particularly in that area, we're thinking in doing a dual assessment, like doing services and dev, so we could synchronize the periods and reduce the overall cost of maintenance for the certification.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much this evening, Ricardo. Just one last question. If somebody wants to talk to you further about all the cool stuff that you're doing or what you've achieved, how can they contact you?
I have my LinkedIn page, Ricardo Garza. I probably could give you like a link or something, or Twitter, High Maturity, by the way. So if you guys are CMM, my Twitter is High Maturity, so it's easy to remember. Yeah. And I could also give you my email address, ricardo.garza@softtek.com, but it's probably easier LinkedIn or Twitter.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.